The subject today is the difference between Islamic laws and colonial laws and how they impact societies. Now, the debate, as far as I'm concerned here, is the world order that is in existence, where social high-tech and material high-tech are in conflict. What does social high-tech represent? And what does material high-tech represent? Is primarily something for us to understand. Social high-tech are a set of values which usually come from a base of religiosity. Now, these religions, be they man-made or be they divine, represent a certain set of values for a society. And the societies are run, governed, operated on the basis of these set of values. Therefore, the laws that are engineered, legislated, and then promulgated are based keeping these set of values in firm view. Hypothetically, or as an example, if in the Islamic Republic of Pakistan we have a law which is promulgated on the basis of a thing which is prohibited in Islam, that law would be considered unacceptable, redundant, against the grain. Similarly, when we talk of material high-tech, what we are talking about is the level of material technology that makes certain laws incumbent upon social orders. So, when we discuss the engineering of laws or the philosophy of lawmaking, i.e. jurisprudence, then what we are talking about basically is that social high-tech ought to be the one governing material high-tech. In the case of material high-tech, when, and this is again an example, when atom was discovered, it had a use in medical sciences, it had a use for the cheap availability of energy, which could light up houses, empower industries, etc. But when the same atom was used for military purposes, for destroying mankind, it breached the law that is acceptable for the management of societies. So when we look at the globe, we look at the population on the planet, we are essentially required to follow a certain code for lawmaking that makes material technology subservient to the social high-tech, i.e. the social limitations that does not harm society, but in place instead promotes, protects, and safeguards, serves the population comprising these various social pockets around the planet. So the debate basically revolves around material high-tech being subservient to social high-tech, and social high-tech differs from place to place on the planet because some societies are following a religious code or a social code or a code based on what we call in this day and age communism, socialism, capitalism, etc. But it is beneficial for the existence of mankind to only focus on and accept and adopt social limitations for the engineering of laws, and it is in our interest to discard, denounce, reject all forms of law that subjugates the validity of existence, the validity of human existence on the planet. The world order as it stands today and what we have evolved into is in conflict with this particular notion, this particular theory, this particular requirement, where we see that all social reservations that protect mankind have been set aside, and the leaders in material high-tech are in effect rulers of the world. And to them, it is material gain, therefore, which is above the protection and the welfare, well-being of human population. Next point. When we want to establish a difference between the two set of laws that plague the planet, we see a vivid difference. We see a vivid difference between sharing, one, and economic usurpation. Islamic laws are entirely based on the sharing of the commonwealth of nature. And when you talk of the sharing of the commonwealth of nature, it is for the entire population of the planet, and therefore it propagates universal brotherhood. Contrary to this are the laws which have been engineered by colonists. And why we call them colonists is because we are talking of that segment of human population who have indiscriminately robbed the world for its commonwealth, denying the rights of others who possess it, and have used that wealth for the advancement of material technology, placing them as rulers. There is a debate which legitimizes this action on the planet, but it is our business to weigh the pros and cons of the debate from what is better for mankind, and that is why we address the validity of Islamic laws in comparison to the laws which have been brought to the fore and are manifest on the planet, which have been engineered and enforced by military might on the global population, and we call them colonial laws. There is absolutely no dispute, no two opinions on what of the two is more beneficial for mankind. Obviously, anything that serves the human interest, the human welfare, is more acceptable, and what does not is certainly not acceptable and should be rejected. Therefore, the third point I would like to introduce in this debate would be a factor from sociology, that Islamic laws primarily are engineered based on equity, the establishment of equity, equality, and egalitarianism as the bedrock for the philosophy of lawmaking in Islam. It is until very recently that the laws which predominantly engulf the entire planet had started considering human life as an aspect of value, while prior to this it was only material possession and its value that was considered prime for adjudication and for the purposes of making laws. So when we look at the commonwealth of nature provided, available on the planet, and we look at the human population on the planet, we need to understand that for the welfare of the human population, the commonwealth of nature is not only ample, it's more than ample, it's adequate. And if these two are not equitably itself together, put together, then this imbalance will continue to remain, and pockets of the human population will remain in misery. The predominant population of the planet will remain in misery, and a handful of people will remain owners of prosperity. A good point of reference are the current statistics, where the global population stands at 7.6 billion people, and the global wealth is concentrated in the hands of just 400 people or less. So there is something very seriously which has gone wrong. And what has gone wrong is that the commonwealth of nature has been robbed, pillaged, and has been concentrated for ownership in the hands of just a few. They have used that wealth for the purposes of enhancing material technology, keeping them ahead of the race, at the cost of the welfare and well-being of the rest of the people. So when you look at the factors of production, i.e. land, labor, capital, and enterprise, you will see that the predominant set of laws that regulate capital, that regulate land, that regulate labor are all under siege. They've been taken under siege because of the set of laws that are manifest in the format of the diabolic New World Order, so referred to. So this being the basis of the ground realities as they exist, the way forward is something for us to consider, and consider with all seriousness, because it is we who are not among the 400 who are ruling the world that stand affected. And the way forward is and cannot be an apologetic approach. It cannot be a phased out program to discard certain laws and adopt others. It has to be a sledgehammer mechanism where you completely denounce factors that inflict the usage of land, the usage of labor, and the usage of capital. They need to be redefined, and they need to be readopted so that the equality for opportunity, the equality for the human faculties are established. In the thrust forward of the colonial laws, there are other notions that have emerged over time, introducing factors of racial supremacy, technological supremacy, of religious supremacy. And this is oppression of the worst degree that can be inflicted on mankind. Because by Islamic beliefs, we have all been created equally and with faculties that match without any discrimination. It is a set of opportunities that evolve a certain human into being Einstein or being a court jester. So any set of laws that deprive man of this opportunity are oppressive. It is therefore incumbent upon Muslim societies, be they anywhere, that they take cognizance of this reality and liberate their land from absentee landlordism, freehold, and captivity of any kind and form. It is incumbent on them to liberate labor by the correct economic assessment for the compensation of labor. It is incumbent on them to liberate the medium of exchange from the captivity of printed paper, which is alien, and base it on something tangible. And it is only in the doing of all this will the sledgehammer turn around become possible. And when we speak of this, it is very, very significant that we also place on record here that this can only be done by a leadership that believes in the equality of man, and not by people who suffer from the after effects of colonialism and belong to the slave culture. So leadership, in essence, will determine the rightful independence of the mind, and therefore the correct engineering of laws that ought to be. In the final aspects of this particular observation, I must refer to the Islamic Republic of Pakistan as an ideal territory where this consideration ought to be viewed, because it is ethnic and it was founded on the basis of Islam, and most, it is strapped in for resources called capital. We have taken upon ourselves, because of an enslaved leadership, the misery that the population is suffering, despite the availability of ample resources, despite the availability of very able human resource, despite the availability of a divine religion for our way forward, because it is Islam on the basis of which it was founded. So the factors that inflict us, such as that of foreign borrowing, such as that of keeping our reserves in alien currencies, such as the dictates on economic restrictions, have to instantly be thrown out of the window so that a new set of laws can see us through. Thank you.